Hey guys, welcome again to our fourth episode of the Fighting Nerds. I'm Wes.
I'm Anthony.
Yeah, that's him. So today's topic, I wanted to start off. It's the big, for those of you reading comic books, and the big news is apparently Captain America this whole time was a Hydra agent.
Yeah, I have no idea about this, so Wes, you want to explain
Yeah,
it to me and
I
the
only,
viewers?
I only found out through Facebook and stuff like that, but there was an image, and you had Cap. He had I believe the president hostage. This was the way they're marketing it, at least. Apparently, at the end of the recent Captain America #1, he reveals that he's been a Hydra agent the whole time.
And what series is this in?
This is like the current 616 Earth 616 series. So meaning like the contemporary, like the actual like it's supposed to be non-canon.
So it's like it's non-canon.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's supposed to be, and so it's kind of caused an uproar with fans, myself included in the beginning, because I mean, like, how is that even possible? Like, so many things. Like, he's done things. Like, if he was part of an evil organization, how is he worthy of lifting Mjolnir more than once? Things like that. So it didn't make sense to me, and I thought, and a lot of people, especially fanboys and all of them, started seeing it from. They're saying like it was just to cause a shock value and stuff like that for things, and I agreed at the point. But then I'm like, there has to be a reason. The writers said you have to read it and you'll see how it's explained, because there's they show a panel which is a flashback of apparently his mother was saved by a Hydra agent and got her into Hydra, and saved from an abusive boyfriend or husband, whatever. I don't know the storyline. Apparently, Steve Rogers was a victim of that as a kid, like as a young kid, and he grew up with Hydra, and like everything was all conducted by Hydra but
this was before he became
Captain
Before
America, he became Captain America.
He was just Steve Rogers at this point, right? He wasn't injected with the
according to the what they're saying. But somebody ended up posting an image, because they were clues. The writer said they've been planning this since the end of A versus X, when Avengers versus X-Men storyline, and around that storyline there was something where Red Skull got involved, and he was doing stuff with Captain America, and he tried to convince him to do something, and Cap said no, but then we were tying at one point. Red Skull apparently had I've been out of the loop with the comics for him, but I was reading, apparently he had taken, because Professor X died, right? During that. Oh, sorry, spoiler alert. I should have said that
everybody
before.
dies eventually. I mean,
they'll come back. Anyway,
he'll come back.
The storyline was a year ago, so.
People who watched the third movie, X3,
that's true.
I mean, he does die. Spoiler alert again.
He practically disintegrates. So he dies in A versus X. He was killed by a possessed Cyclops, but then his body, apparently Red Skull confiscated his brain, because
because it's super valuable.
Yeah,
and it's Professor X.
It's Professor X, so you'd be able to manipulate, and maybe, hopefully, and it's Red Skull. He'll figure out a way to manipulate his telepathic abilities, having the brain. So the theory is that these are actually fake memories of Steve Rogers implanted by Red Skull to make him believe that he was a Hydra agent this whole time. So that kind of actually is a cool.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that actually to me is pretty interesting. I don't know what you guys think, because I know a lot of people were pissed off, myself as well. It's like, apparently I think there was even Chris Evans, when he heard about it, he ripped the picture of Captain America as a joke, or something like that. He was like joking around, but they obviously do this for a reason, and I don't think they would actually do that. And then unless they do this whole, and I'm tired of this whole like going back in time or some time loop. Like when Cap died for the first time, or I think he's died more than once actually. One of the last times that he died, he came back in Captain America Reborn because of a time thing. I can't really remember.
You gotta change it up at some point. You can't just have people dying, coming back. You gotta have something.
Yeah, and so I found, but if this is the real reason that like more of like it's planted memories since the A versus X, that makes a lot more sense. Like he's a pawn basically.
Yeah,
and that makes it interesting. Oh, my phone's ringing. And I'll hang up. So yeah,
we're at work.
Yeah, we're at work. Leave me alone. So that's what that whole thing is Cap is a Hydra agent. So, but this is happening in his story. So obviously, there's going to be something to it. It's not. I don't think the point of the story is to be Captain America, the Hydra agent.
Right.
It's finding out why he's a Hydra agent. That's what the whole story arc is supposed to be about, from what I get from
Right.
it. Yeah. So that's why there's a bunch of memes. Like you have things like, it's like our memories are ruined now. So you have people have like Photoshop, instead of Cap, they'll put Spider-Man. It's like fuck responsibility. Because Cap was saying Hail Hydra, and it's like a big shock. Or Batman, I killed my parents. Deadpool, I hate chimichangas. That one's a good one. There's like a bunch of different ones, saying all these things. But if it's this elaborated scheme by Red Skull, that's actually for me, it's a really cool storyline. So if it's really going along that pace, and there's a bunch of clues, like in that panel of the memory that he has of Hydra saving his mother and himself, and like introducing them as part of the Hydra society. There's a lot of red in there. Like it's supposed to be, it's kind of monochrome memory, but red for some reason stands out.
Like the color red?
The color red, so it's like a clue that might be actually Red Skull's behind it. So that would be interesting, and I hope it's that, because that would really be stupid if he was been a Hydra agent this whole time, because it doesn't make sense. They would have to have retconned everything, and it doesn't make sense for so many reasons. He had so many chances to reveal that he's a Hydra, or use that to be a Hydra agent, unless he was like, we're suppressed this whole time. They were never able to do it till now. But I think that would have been stupid. Like, you can't just take this iconic character and have him been an evil character or a bad guy this whole time. Like that. Like if it's a change, which is different. Some characters in comics have changed, which have been for the better, I find. For example, Cyclops, leading up to Aversex, but it actually was a long time coming since they did this whole storyline where the mutants were disappearing, and I really liked Cyclops' evolution. He went from like just a boring hard ass leader to the gung ho leader, willing to protect his kind, and that was kind of cool. Like I always refer to Cyclops in the comics now as like the Walter White of Marvel superheroes. Like he starts off. He started in the 90s. They washed him down because Wolverine was such a popular character, and
more than Cyclops.
More than Cyclops. Back in the day, in the original X-Men, Cyclops was Mr. X-Men. Like he was the go-to guy. Right. So they kind of washed him down because people like the darker, the more intriguing, mysterious characters like Wolverine, like myself included. But lately, what they've done with Cyclops, I don't know where he is right now because I haven't read a lot lately. But what they've done before that, like leading up to that, and him creating that utopia of mutants, and him really being, protecting the mutants, borderline Magneto vigilance, but he's not a bad guy at all. Like he's not gonna kill humans to do it, but he'll do whatever it takes to protect his kind. And that was really cool. And he became like a little more badass, and that was kind of cool. He bumped up from one of my least favorite X-Men characters to like one of my top. Like he's close up there with Wolverine now. So that's pretty cool that they've done. So that was a good way of like evolving a character, but you can't have this thing where you just kind of like
you can't just flip the script like that. There has to be a reason to why you're doing it. And I mean, just as I was saying, that you can't just have the same storyline over and over again, like people like going back in time or like dying and coming back again. I mean, you gotta kind of have to flip the script a little bit. Whereas the reaction, as you said, from fans that revealing that Captain America was a Hydra agent, I mean, it worked. I mean, the reaction. You got the reaction from fans, and there's a quote-unquote uproar about it, right? So I mean, what the writers did is actually working. And
it's true.
People are more interested in that now.
Yeah.
Like, they want to read about it.
Though. Sure. You have the purists like, I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to touch it.
Oh, come on.
I was kind of like that too, because I'm like, I don't want to ruin. But the writers insisted that there's a reason, and you'd have to read it to see it. I'm intrigued enough to read it, but if it really is that Red Skull twist, that would make a lot of sense. But then they start making excuses. It's like, oh, that's they're just doing that as shock value, and but you know what, shock value is what gets people reacting, right?
Yeah,
to the point that even the real Captain America, Chris Evans, reacted on Twitter or whatever. So
I mean, it does work. So why? It's because they did that. It's gonna help sell, for sure.
Yeah.
People are more intrigued about the storyline, so they want to know more about it, and it works. It's a marketing strategy.
Yeah, I'm actually definitely, I'm gonna at least read it and see the setup for it, because and if I don't, I just hope it's not like a repeat. Like, I know one time it was really bad because it started off good. I forget the Shadowland Daredevil storyline. He ends up becoming leader of the Hand, but he decides himself, like, he becomes it because he feels if he's there, at least he can control the Hand. Mm-hmm. It was a really cool storyline. The story arc ended. It was, I believe it was, no, it wasn't Bendis. It was, I forget who wrote it, but they did the story arc that right before that one ended with him, joining the Hand, because he felt if he could lead the Hand, it will be better than somebody evil or whatever.
Yeah.
But what happened, he did the whole procedure, but in the end, he ended up basically become possessed by the devil or a demon. So yeah, it was like, oh, come on. They could have done. Yeah, it was a cheap, easy way of doing it, and it was just a way of bringing other characters in, like Ghost Rider and stuff, just to throw them into the story loop. So I didn't like that. That kind of threw me off. It was just like, it went from something super, like, obviously it's the Marvel world, but you go from one storyline which was very down to earth, realistic, that they could have done. They could have continued, but then they turned it into a demonic thing, and it lost me there. Especially with the Daredevil character, like, who's he's a street hero, right? And that's what I like about him. And then you turn him and you get like the supernatural involved with him directly. It kind of threw me off, so I wasn't a fan of that story arc. But I hope it's not something like that where you just revamp everything and just becomes like some kind of like time warp and stuff. That's been done way too many times, and it's too cliche and it's overdone. So yeah.
So that story that Captain America is a Hydra agent, that's canon or non-canon? So is it part of the main?
It's part of the main. Yeah.
Okay, so it is canon.
It is canon. Sorry, it is canon. I said non-canon. No, it is canon. It's like it's part of the Earth 616. So
universe.
Like universe. Like, for those of you who don't know what that is,
there's like alternate universes, I guess.
Yeah. You have like the different universe, like parallel universe type thing. Those of you who watch Flash, for example, they talk about it in DC universes, the Earth 1, Earth 2. Here, it's Earth 616 is the current Marvel universe in the comics. Then you have like the
MCU.
alternate ones. You have the MCU. You have they had the Ultimate Universe, and they all have numbers. I don't know them all. No. That was a big shocker over the last week or so, that Captain America is a Hydra.
Well, I would have wanted to see Reddit just blow up.
Yeah,
I think we're gonna go after when I get home, look it up and see what the purists and everybody is raging about. So I always like going through Reddit threads and seeing people just complain and troll each other.
Yeah, they're hilarious.
I don't partake in any of it, but just reading it, a lot of it makes me laugh.
Yeah, people get so angry. It's really funny. It's hilarious how angry they get. I thought, but I'm not going to go to the point of I'm never buying a comic ever again.
That's a little bit extreme.
But that's the way they're just really big fans.
People don't like change. Example, when anything changes on Facebook or Instagram, when things change, people really complain, and they're like, I'm never gonna go to Instagram again. But then the next day I see you like this on your phone, If you really like it, you're gonna keep using it, just like comics. If you really like the character, you're gonna keep buying the comics.
Yeah.
Even if there's change, I mean, the writers aren't doing it to sabotage the hero or the character or the storyline. They're doing it because they wanted to improve it, or they wanted to change something. Although they kind of
did that with the clone storyline with Spider-Man. They totally botched that story.
What's that? You want to explain that?
Yeah, I guess you're too
just
young.
like
But
just briefly.
this probably what ruined Marvel for a time. They almost went bankrupt.
Really?
And, yeah.
Okay.
At one point.
This is new to me.
Yeah, this is back in the 90s where they basically their story was Spider-Man, Peter Parker. It's kind of similar to what it's happening. That's why people are skeptical of this whole Hydra Agent thing. So I don't blame them.
Okay.
Peter Parker was not the original Spider-Man, or it was so confusing. I can.
Okay.
And then there was this. I forget his name, but there was this other guy who's apparently the real Peter Parker, and the current Peter Parker is somebody else. And then the original Spider-Man should have, and then he became the Scarlet Spider.
Okay, for like
it
rings a bell.
Yeah, it rings a bell. So it was basically a Spider-Man with a really bad denim jacket over.
Okay, yeah.
It's like a denim
vest.
Denim vest, and you know.
So he was the real Peter Parker, the guy in the denim vest.
He was supposed to, but then I think people just complained. It was so bad that they were able, and he was able to convince that Peter Parker, that the real Peter Parker. Or the fake Peter at this point.
I'm so confused. Yeah. Okay, so like the Scarlet or
the original Peter Parker. So let's say the one that's existed as we know in the comics.
Okay, so yeah.
Yeah, him. He was led to believe he was a clone this whole time.
Okay.
And
this new guy. Or the old guy.
Yeah.
The original guy?
The original guy, who he claims to be.
Scarlet.
But he believed it too. So the story was, it wasn't like he was trying to sabotage anything. He actually believed it. But then in the end, he was actually the clone, and they just flipped the switch and to make everyone happy.
Yeah, but that's just, I don't know. I don't find that in any way intriguing. Like
it was not intriguing at all, and it just caused confusion, and that it just confused everybody, and their sales went down. That almost ruined Marvel.
I doubt they're gonna let that happen with this story.
No, I think this is different. I think that's why people are the purists are kind of haunted by that story arc because
I don't blame them.
Yeah,
but Marvel's not going to become bankrupt
they're
rolling in money right now.
They were close at that time. They were like
this is back in the day,
back in the 90s where Image Comics were blowing up.
Mm-hmm.
DC was doing well. DC had some really sick storylines at that time. So their quality of, because it's like anything in almost any industry. When you start doing really well, sometimes the quality goes down because you're kind of mass producing, right?
Right. There's just so much happening.
So you just you're like cars, for example, and cars always go up and down. Like one time, American cars are doing really well, but then they're mass producing because there's so much demand, so the quality goes down. So the Japanese cars go up, and then they start doing. They're going in up and down. It's normal. So it happened. It was happening with the comics, but Marvel was destroying for the longest time. But then I don't know if they're trying. I think actually people are saying it was the death of Superman that killed Marvel at that time. Because that was the biggest thing, and then Marvel's trying to do something, catch up because they like, we can't give up this lead type thing, and then they almost messed themselves up. It happened even if you want to take it something similar to wrestling, WWE and WCW, the Monday Night War as they called it. Those of you wrestling fans, we know same thing happened when they created the NWO in the WCW by bringing in the old WWE guys. That just blew them up, and WWE was trying to catch up, and they were losing in ratings for almost a year and a half or 2 years. They were losing in ratings for the Monday night shows, and that was the same thing. They're trying to they got so big, but then the other company does something huge,
right,
and then that puts them in a panic. So we want to beat them, and they try to do something either similar, or but it doesn't work, and then just people lose interest for it. But then they come back up because at a certain point, even that can be when you do something big, but then you're just banking on that one thing, and then you don't have anything for the future, and it messes things up too. So then WCW went down too. So it's like that. It goes up and down and so on. It's all in today now. It's all about how you market and how you follow up on your stories and stuff.
Yep, exactly.
So yeah, what else is
There's some fights tonight. I mean, tomorrow night.
tomorrow night?
UFC 189.
Yeah.
The last pay-per-view, UFC pay-per-view before the Grand 200.
Yep. Yeah.
I think it's gonna be a good one.
Yep. It's the one. It's the Bantam.
So yeah, the headliners. The headline fight is Rockhold versus Bisping.
Oh right. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah,
I got
that's
mixed
for
up.
the
Yeah.
that's for the middleweight title.
Because Weidman was injured.
Yep.
We talked about that last time.
Mhm. And then for in bantamweight, it's Dominic Cruz versus Uriah Faber. So there's two titles
match,
on the line tomorrow night.
Yeah. Awesome. That's going to be a good fight too. Let's talk about Cruz and Faber. That one's good just because they really don't like each other. They
have history.
They have history. Faber beat him the first time back in WEC, but then when Cruz became champ in the I'm getting mixed up in the UFC, he was able to defend his title against Faber, but it was a fairly close fight. I remember.
Yeah, I mean,
Faber dropped Cruz twice, but he came right back up, and Cruz still controlled the match. I think Cruz convincingly still won that fight. But
was it a decision? Or?
Yeah, it was a decision. Okay. It was close though but Cruz just did more, and he's hard to hit. You know, he's like such a good defensive striker, but he does it in a way where he gets out of the way, and then all of a sudden, and he comes off in these crazy angles. So.
Yeah, his footwork is on another level. I don't know about you, but that footwork is.
Yeah, no, but Uriah's experience, he was able to catch him, and he dropped him a couple of times. So like. I don't know if Cruz is his chin questionable, but Faber hits hard too. So he's a strong, powerful guy so it would be interesting. But after seeing Cruz, how he just totally, after being on a layoff for so long because of an injury, years hadn't fought, and then he fights one fight and does well, and then I think did he get injured again? And then comes back to fight against Dillashaw for the title, and he dominated. He dominated that fight, and it was just crazy to see. That's amazing. It shows what kind of athlete he is. I think Cruz is going to keep his title. He's had enough experience to read Faber and stuff, and he's still quicker. I think Faber is not the same fighter as he was before.
Like in WEC.
Yeah, I don't think he's still good. He's still a threat no matter what. His experience, but he's not as good. He's not as explosive as he was, and he's not as quick. But it seemed like Cruz, despite his injury, it's as if he hasn't changed, and he's allowed himself to adapt and get better and so on. So I don't know. It's as if Cruz doesn't slow down. It's pretty amazing. And then Rockhold and.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to talk about?
Yeah,
the card is pretty good.
Pretty good.
What you call it? It's Max Holloway.
Oh yeah, that's going to be a good
Max
fight.
I really like Max Holloway.
I like his style.
Yeah,
I really like his style.
He was one of the only fighters to only get to a decision with. We'll get to the third round, the end of the fight with Conor McGregor.
Yeah,
everybody else either got knocked out or TKO.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's a tough guy, and I like his style. I like he's a clean striker, and he can throw in combinations, and he can be aggressive. He's really I like Holloway a lot. He's a contender for sure.
Yeah, for sure. He's one of the people like to sleep on him in the featherweight division, but I think he is a top contender.
Yeah, for sure. No, he's good, well-rounded.
Was his last fight. I forgot what his last fight was, but he dismantled Cub Swanson.
Yeah, it's true.
That was a pretty one-sided fight.
Yeah, I think. I really love his style.
But I mean, Ricardo, you can't
count him out. He's experienced. He's strong.
He is
a good wrestler. A lot of heart. But I think Holloway will be able to use his footwork. And he'll. Yeah, but if Lamas can grind, but that's his own flaw. Not a flaw, but he's seen in the past where when he's outmatched by somebody who moves better than him, he has a tendency to just hold down his opponents, and you can't rely on that because now I think judges are starting to not put as much emphasis on just control now.
Right.
But it's also up to the ref's responsibility to stand them back up if
Yeah.
they're not doing anything, right? So that's the thing I would, if I was Ricardo, I would worry about is him trying to like focus on just grinding it out. He's going to need to find his way to overpower Holloway if he can, cut off his angles, because Holloway is just good, and he can, if he wants to be, or he can, often is relentless. So it should be a good fight, potential fight of the night.
Another fight is Dan Henderson versus Hector Lombard.
Oh yeah, that should be interesting. I mean, it's Hendo. It's
Hendo. It's still one of his knockout on what's his
Bisping?
Bisping is still one of my favorites. I mean,
Yeah.
The guy, like, he's like flying and he just kind
On
of
the way,
overhand
yeah.
weights, like on his way down.
Yeah.
And smashes Bisping in the face.
Yeah,
And they're on the same card. They're on the same card together.
Yeah, that's true.
Pretty
But
funny.
he was supposed to have fought Lyoto in that fight, but Lyoto failed. Lyoto Machida.
Mm-hmm.
He was supposed to fight Lyoto Machida, or maybe not this card, but he was supposed to fight Lyoto Machida at one point. But Machida failed a drug test.
A drug test?
Yeah, a surprise drug test. So that didn't happen.
Those drug tests, man. A lot of
They
people-
fought already. Didn't he and Machida fight already?
I think so.
Yeah, they fought already.
I think
Yeah.
so. And then there's Dustin Poirier versus
What?
Bobby Green. That's a good fight.
That's a good one.
Brian Ortega versus Clay Guida. I haven't seen Clay Guida
I haven't seen him in a
fight
while. But
I know Brian Ortega. His jiu-jitsu is amazing.
yeah,
I've
Ortega's
seen,
good. It should be interesting.
He triangles.
Depends
he
which
much-
Guida we see on that night.
Yeah, Brian Ortega. He fights out of Gracie, I think. And apparently he's like a triangle master. Like
Yeah.
his
yeah.
last submission, his last fight, he won by submission in triangle, and his transitions are actually really amazing.
Nice.
Yeah, on the ground as grappling. So let's move on to the main fight.
Yeah, Rockhold Bisping.
So for those of you who don't know, it was supposed to be Chris Weidman. He got injured due to his spine, his back.
Yeah,
His back.
you think it was his back?
I think it was his back. So he has to get surgery for that. And so Michael Bisping, he was actually on set for shooting a film in Toronto, and then he, when Weidman got injured, he called Dana White right away. Took the fight on 2 weeks' notice. So I don't know how do you think that's going to play out?
Well,
in this
I
fight?
have to give it to. I'm not the biggest Bisping fan, and I don't really see him beating Rockhold. Rockhold beat him last time. Doesn't mean anything, but he kind of pretty much dominated him in that fight. Bisping he has good conditioning. That's what I have to say. Like, he's one of the better conditioned guys in that division. Like, he can last a long time. Mostly, he's not a hard hitter.
He's a
That's
good
the thing.
boxer.
He's a good boxer, good hands at least, and good at combinations. But there's not a lot of power in those strikes. But he's good at positioning himself. He has, he's very experienced. But I don't think he's going to beat Rockhold, especially with 2 weeks' notice. But I mean, if there's somebody who could take a fight like that in 2 weeks' notice, I'm not surprised as Bisping for that.
He's a tough guy for taking that fight on 2 weeks' notice.
Yeah, I mean, you don't give up a chance of getting the
Winning
middleweight
the
title.
right.
I mean, he just beat Anderson
And
Silva.
Yeah, he keeps talking about that, like, I beat Anderson Silva, I beat the greatest of all time. Do you think that that warrants his ability fighting Rockhold?
No,
because he beat Anderson Silva, that
This
he
is
can beat
this is not.
Rockhold.
Yeah, this is not. It's not the same Anderson.
He wasn't in
unfortunately.
his prime. He
Yeah,
wasn't in his not in his prime
he's
anymore,
been descending a little bit. No, it didn't look for a while, but since this fight, I mean, he came off a crazy injury. I mean, his leg practically broke in half.
Yeah, you can't. I don't know. It's hard to come back.
I don't
after
think.
something like
I
that,
think
right?
just psychologically, he's not. He's probably not the same. Like, even in training, you can't do this. Anderson still looks good. His striking looked good, but like. He didn't look the same even against Nick Diaz, and you can even argue, even though Anderson clearly won the fight, but if you look at back, he got tagged with a lot of shots by Nick in that fight too. Didn't look anybody. When you watch it in slow-mo, you actually see a lot of strikes that Diaz landed on him. And then he had the drug, the testosterone test again.
Yeah, he got popped for it.
Yeah, so like there are little things like that, and so it's not. I don't think Bisping can really claim to have beaten Anderson Silva. Although he did want to fight him earlier, I'll give him that. Like back, he was willing to fight him before, but he didn't get his chance. And arguably, he probably should have gotten that shot. It was a controversial win, but they were saying that obviously because Chael Sonnen fought Bisping for the number one contendership, and this is after Chael Sonnen had lost against. It was it's basically if he won, he gets his rematch against Anderson.
Yep.
And that fight, I personally gave the fight to Bisping. I thought he won, but the judges gave it to Chael Sonnen, and then people will say it's because they want to see the rematch because Chael is a big talker and it would be better. But unfortunately, I gave that fight to Bisping. I personally just by a hair, kind of, but I didn't see how Chael won that fight, so he could have had his chance then. And he kind of kept being put under. He was kind of unlucky, He does well, and then his chance to get in there in the mix, he doesn't. He misses it, or he loses to somebody. So it's kind of sucks for him because it's been a long time coming. Even though, again, I'm not a big fan of his or his style, but you can't deny that he's still one of those top guys in there. He has a good record, and he has the experience to do it, but I think Rockhold is gonna catch him in submission again.
Mm-hmm. So if you were, if you were Bisping's coach, I guess he's the underdog in this situation, right?
Yeah, I would. I think so.
If you were his coach, what would you tell Bisping to do in order to? He has
to move in and out. He has to go strike, get out, which is pretty much his style. He has to go in and out. Might not be the most exciting fight, but if he wants to win, he has to land a lot of shots. Because the thing is, Rockhold's a tall guy too, so he oversizes him. So it'll be hard to keep distance. So he's gonna have to be an in and out fighter and really use those angles. But Rockhold's a good striker too, and he has nice kicks, really good kicks. So
question mark kick.
Bisping is gonna have to be able to go in and out and mix it up. Just like maybe go in, feint for a takedown or something, get in close, but then pull out, throw more strikes. That's the only way I see Bisping really winning this fight, if he can do that. And it would end up, if Bisping wins, it would be by decision, but it would be by doing that. He would have to be like in and out, in and out.
How's his ground game? Because I know Rockhold's a
just that against Rockhold, it's Bisping has a good all-around ground game. Like he actually. The Brits aren't really known for wrestling, but Bisping is a pretty decent wrestler. But he started training he cross trains, right? He goes to other camps and stuff, and he works on anything. So he's a well-rounded fighter. So he has a well-rounded ground game, but he's not on par with Rockhold in terms of jiu-jitsu or submission fighting. So he doesn't. I don't think he wants to go to the ground, especially since the last time they fought, Rockhold put him. He caught a rear naked choke or guillotine. I can't remember. Anyway,
it's probably a submission.
Bisping's gonna have to keep his distance, but he has to be an in and out fighter. He can't use pure distance because he doesn't have the reach for it. Rockhold has that advantage, but he's gonna have to move in and out, combos, out. Again, it's his classic style, really. Actually, that's what he should be doing. So but mix it up. Be able to mix up, pull in. Pretty much how he handled Anderson Silva. Yeah, that's his best chance of beating Rockhold. But Rockhold's big, strong, and his ground game. If he closes that gap, it might be hard for Bisping to do that.
Cool. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Maybe we close. Maybe we switch back to. I want to do like a kind of like a casting call for because I just saw. I don't know if you saw like the Marvel, the MCU universe. Well, it's not cinematics or for TV because they're saying Netflix.
Is it for Netflix?
Yeah, they're confirmed. Apparently, it's confirmed that they're finally deciding to put. They got the rights to do. Got the rights. They always had the rights, but they're following up with doing a Blade series, a Ghost Rider series, and a Moon Knight series on Netflix, which would be really cool. I think I wanted to start maybe a casting call. Who we think? I want to start, even though since we've already seen Blade and Ghost Rider in the cinematic universe already. Yeah. Let's just take Moon Knight because he's a new character. Not a lot of people might know him.
People I don't know, when they already have movies out already or TV series played by other characters, and it's done a remake, and then it's a remake. People kind of still have the idea with sticking to who was casted before that, or at least in their heads. I mean,
just like Daredevil and Batman and all. Yeah.
If we're gonna have a new Blade series, right? In my head, it'll always be Wesley Snipes.
Yeah, for sure. The only thing is, if they do a Blade series, and I hope to do this because it will stay true, and this is not a lot of people know this, but Blade's British. Not a lot of people know that. Yeah, that's I forgot. I knew that a long time ago because I had those trading cards. Born in London. Blah, blah, blah. So I completely forgot about that because Snipes just killed it. One of the best renditions of a comic book character. It was just so cool. But it's hard to see. And same thing, Ghost Rider. There's so many. You can get almost anybody, I think, to play Ghost Rider because it's just Johnny Blaze, right? It's just the guy under. But that's why I want to choose somebody for Moon Knight. I already said, as you probably saw my pick once. I chose Charlie Hunnam from Sons of Anarchy. I think he would be a great Moon Knight, Mark Spector, just because he has the right build, he has the look. He shows he can fight. So
what's his character like? Like, I mean, just for the Moon Knight, he's not very known.
No, he's not that. Yeah, honestly, he's almost like, if you want to even say it, he is. People kind of called him like Marvel's answer to Batman. He's very similar in that aspect that he's rich. Also, he has a lot of resources, but because he was a mercenary in his past. But he has a twisted side to him because he has a split personality disorder. Okay. In the sense, he's aware of it though, as far as we know. It's just that he kind of takes on a new persona every time. So like sometimes, but it's not so much that he's a completely different person or he's a new character or he's not aware of it. But he's a character that, because he's done so many crazy jobs in the past, like mercenary, soldier. He's also an entrepreneur and stuff like that. So he takes on different personas. He chameleons himself in different ways. That so much that he kind of, at one point in the storylines, I think it was written by Bendis. It was a really cool twist. What he did is he has 3 new personas were influenced by Wolverine, Spider-Man, and Captain America. So he would instead of their personalities though, he would see them talking to him. Okay. So he has there's this psychosis to him. There's a little bit of he's not all straight there. So he has and so I find intriguing with him. But he's incredibly smart. He's one of the Marvel's best combatants too. Like he's up there with guys like close to Cap and Black Panther at least. Those type of fighters, well trained, several forms of combat. His powers depends on who writes it, but also we don't know if he's really that. He seems to have some form of superhuman strength, but it based on the moon because he's apparently powered by the moon god. Like that's what he has, but we don't know even to this day, which is really cool, if it's really a moon god or is it just in his head. Part of his psychological, his psychosis type thing, and he's a really cool character. He's dark, but he deals a little with the supernatural too. So maybe the moon god is real, but I just find him an interesting character to use because you need a character. And that's why I say Charlie Hunnam for me is a perfect person because he can play different roles and he can be solid. Like in Pacific Rim, I almost didn't recognize him. I didn't even when I saw him, I didn't even realize he was the guy from Sons of Anarchy. Yeah. So he has that what do you call it? Variety, he can pull that off, and it would be cool to see somebody who would be able to pull it off in a show, be a completely different character or persona. Sometimes he has to be that more. He has to be more vigilant, like the hardcore fighter guy, or he has to be more. Sometimes he's very detective-like. He's very Sherlock Holmes. Even to a point in the comics. He had his Moon Knight, and then he had a Mr. Knight persona where he dresses in a white suit and just wears his mask, and he's more of a detective. He works with the police, and he does detective work. Whereas when he's Moon Knight, he's more of a superhero persona. Right. So it was really cool. I kind of hope they do that in the show if they actually do it. I don't know if it's 100% confirmed, but I'm really excited. But a character like that, I would pick somebody like him. Ironically, Charlie Hunnam would probably be a good Ghost Rider too. So it's like being on Sons of Anarchy, he knows.
Yeah,
he looks good on a bike.
He looks good on a bike, but yeah.
But I think they would get somebody a little less known for Ghost Rider, just so especially if they're going to do a lot of
CGI with the head, the flaming skull. What's Moon Knight's fighting style? Just so. I'm trying to think of people. That
the best thing I read about him was his fighting style. Think about it. He's a mercenary, right? So he's very. I would say somebody like the way Daniel Craig fights in James Bond in his.
Okay.
The Daniel Craig version of him, or like a Jason Bourne style, like gritty, simple hand-to-hand combat. But he has weapons. He's like he has fighting sticks. He has his Kali sticks. He has a staff. He knows how to use weapons. He knows how to use guns, but he doesn't really use guns. He has his throwing crescents, like moon crescents. So he's one of those guys. Even similar, those of you who watch Batman versus Superman, that classic action scene where Batman's fighting all those guys in the room.
My favorite scene in the movie.
Well, definitely. Very similar to that kind of, but he's relatively simple. Like I would say he's a combination of like Punisher and maybe Black Panther style of fighting. Like he has some, he has the kicks and stuff like that, at least in the comics, but he keeps it relatively simple, which is what I like. He's very gritty, like somebody like that. He's a gritty fighter to the point where what I was saying is that Taskmaster, Taskmaster is a character, a villain, who can mimic any move, right? So he has photographic reflexes, as they call it in the book. So if you watch somebody, you can watch Bruce Lee fight, he'll fight exactly like Bruce Lee, right? He doesn't like copying Moon Knight's. He's one of like Deadpool and Moon Knight. He hates copying them because Deadpool is just crazy and wacky. Yeah. And Moon Knight, he doesn't like copying him because Moon Knight would rather take a punch than dodge one.
That's his personality.
Yeah, he's willing to take a hit to give one right back. So he's one of those type of guys. But it also depends on which persona he's using. So when he's Mr. Knight, he's a little more elusive. But when he's Moon Knight and he's being very, like he's, so he'd be a very interesting character that I've been hoping to see him in some form. It's just that I think it was hard for them to decide to put him in there because people might think of him as like a knockoff of a Batman. But if you really look into his character, he's different. He's just similar backing in the sense that, he's rich, wears a costume, cape, and all that fighting thing, but very different upbringing. He was a soldier. He wasn't. His parents weren't killed or anything. Nothing traumatic happened to him necessarily. And his kind of form of powers, depending how they portray that in the series, if they do go on. But I was super excited to do it, and that's my pick. I don't know. Maybe you guys. You should do who would you pick to play somebody? Those of you who know who Moon Knight is, or if you base off of my description, in the books he's fairly tall, like all superheroes seem to be tall, except for Wolverine. He's fairly tall, good build, but that can always be worked out.
Always.
Hair in the comics, I believe he has brown hair. Again, depending on the artist, sometimes they change it up a bit. But yeah, that's why I say I think Charlie Hunnam is would be a perfect choice in my view. I can't see anyone else really pulling off, at least a known actor pulling off that role.
Keanu Reeves.
He can play anything.
He can play. He's Neo.
He's Neo. He can do anything. He can play a samurai. Speaking of Keanu Reeves, they're doing
John Wick 2.
John Wick 2.
I am excited.
Yeah.
I haven't seen. Okay, I'm a very big action movie fan. Growing up with like Jean-Claude Van Damme and watching. Like a lot of what we rented at like Blockbuster and everything, where I was
Blockbuster. What's that?
What's Blockbuster? Netflix? What? You have to rent movies? So I'm a big action movie fan, and unlike some people, I appreciate action movies a lot in terms of choreography. Especially as a dancer, because I dance, I know how hard it is to learn choreography.
Not pole dancing.
Yeah, not pole dancing. Okay. How hard it is to learn choreography, execute it well, and do it on camera, and it's different than
he made, kind of how like John Woo was like king of like gun fight scenes.
Yes,
but man, that scene with him and just his 45
In his house?
in his house, but also the other one where he goes to the Russians.
On the club.
Yeah, and he's just like taking out and the way he reload. I just thought it was awesome. Like I'm not usually crazy about gunfight scenes because like they're simple or whatever. Even though, but you want it to be simple. But he made something really simple, but there was a fine touch to it, and it just looked so cool. Like it's so accurate. Like it just it showed why he was so dangerous.
Yeah, there's just something about John Wick that it brought back memories of when action movies were. It wasn't just about CG or it's down to the choreography and
there was even some jujitsu in there, which was cool.
It's just like a lot of people don't appreciate action movies because it's like there's not a real storyline. It's just predictable, blah blah blah. But me, I just look.
Same here.
I look at the action scenes and how well they're choreographed. I like
sometimes
to look at
an action scene will save a movie for me.
Yeah.
Example, like, true. Well, even though I didn't hate the movie, so it was still pretty good. Batman vs Superman. Mm-hmm. Actually, another example, I did not like, or I'm not a big fan of Wolverine Origins, X-Men Origins. Okay. Wolverine's first solo movie, and as much as they destroyed Deadpool at the end of it, like how Deadpool was portrayed in the movie, the last fight scene I have to say was one of the best action scenes I've seen in a superhero movie. With him and Sabretooth teaming up against Fake Pool. X
whatever.
Weapon 11.
Something like that.
So like that fight scene was really well done. I have to say, like I enjoyed it. That saved the movie for me. I put aside that was their version of Deadpool, and there's so many plot holes in the movie, but that action scene saved the movie for me. But basically, I could just watch that fight scene. I would have been happy. But
I forgot who played Deadpool, because he's a really good.
Oh, you mean his stunt double, the action? It was.
He's really well. He works a lot with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, he was even in one of the Expendables.
He was in Expendables.
I just went blank on his name.
It was his second.
People are gonna get mad at me.
I need to look at this.
It's on the tip of my tongue, but you have your phone. It's probably faster.
He was in Expendables 2. He was Jean-Claude Van Damme's right-hand man.
Yeah.
And
he's really
he's a really good martial artist. Yeah, and he's
very talented.
Scott Adkins.
Scott Adkins.
Yes.
Yeah. No, he was he did all the action, the fight scenes for Deadpool in that movie. But so I think you guys, it would be cool if maybe you give your casting call, who you think would be a cool Moon Knight, or maybe even now, who would you be your choices to play Blade and Ghost Rider, and maybe we'll talk about that next time and see who would be a good candidate.
Imagine if it was Michael B. Jordan. Forget Johnny Storm. I mean, that Fantastic Four. Let's just forget about all that. I mean, that movie that kind of.
I don't see him as Blade. I like Michael B. Jordan, but he's no Blade.
He's no Blade.
You need a gritty. And it would be cool, at least somebody who can pull off a Brit. I want to see a British Blade. I want to see him with a British accent.
It'd be good to see someone new.
Yeah, it has to.
We don't have a lot of at least well-known British African American actors.
Yeah.
At least I can't.
Or we don't. Sometimes we don't even know that they're African American. They're British.
That too, because a lot of them they just mask it with an American accent, and they do it so well.
Be cool. I don't know if they're going to go with an experienced Blade or a young Blade or growing up type thing. Mm-hmm. But they could always do like a flashback back and forth. You show how old he is, because Blade's old. He's actually an old character.
Which way Wesley Snipes kind of worked.
Yeah. No, but I mean, like it's true. Yeah.
Like he was an older person. He was an older age.
Yeah, he's old, in real time. His age, he's older. Like he was around. At one point in the comics, there was a point where him and Wolverine encountered each other back in the day. Yeah, they did a really cool storyline. It was really good. But so send your thoughts. Who you think would be a good person? A new Blade, new Ghost Rider, and if you want to throw in some ideas for Moon Knight, that would be pretty cool.
I'm excited for Moon Knight if it actually goes through.
Same here. He's one of my favorite characters.
Because Blade and Ghost Rider are already done in movies, right? So it'd be nice to see a new character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
What do you think? Oh, I think it'd probably be rated R. Is it that dark of those types of?
It should, but that's why it's cool that's on Netflix. Daredevil pushed the envelope a lot, right? Like it was pretty dark, and I think they they're gonna go that way. You need to go that way with Ghost Rider. Like, it was ridiculous. The movie then. They couldn't go. They couldn't do it because they put it at PG-13.
Yeah, it was a little bit. I don't know,
it was cheesy. It was corny.
Cheesy. It was kind of dulled down a little bit. Yeah, it was a little childish. I thought they could have done.
Like Blade was rated R, if I'm not mistaken, so that's not saying that's what made it do well, but when you can push the envelope with that type of character that you need to, like Moon Knight's pretty dark. He's actually even darker than Batman if you want to. It depends what in the sense that I can't remember if he actually and I'm pretty sure he's actually killed characters, killed his enemies, but. I mean, he did because he was a mercenary.
Right.
But like he's really violent. One famous storyline where he carved someone's face off once. So yeah. So again, that's due to his split personality, where he can kind of go extremely violent to more,
Captain America.
Yeah, Captain America.
Spider-Man.
Cool. So that's it for episode 4, The Fighting Nerds. I'm Wes.
I'm Anthony.
And we'll see you next time. So don't forget, put in those comments who you think should play Blade, Ghost Rider, and Moon Knight. We'll start maybe doing some casting calls for future films too.
And questions.
Yeah. Any questions you want to ask? Anything. Like why Anthony does pole dancing.
Yes, literally anything. Because pole dancing is actually pretty good fitness.
Yeah, we'll stop there.
Yeah.